and welcome back to this episode of Prescott Gallery of Homes. I'm your host, Steve Irwin, the broker with Arizona Prime Real Estate. And today we have Kristen Olson from Lawyers Title.
Yes, thank you.
And we have Troy from AAG.
Hi, y'all.
And Troy, this isn't our first attempt to get you on the program, is it?
No. I'm more nervous this time than last time, though. I don't know why.
Well, as what a lot of people will learn is that you do reverse mortgages. And you're the expert on that.
Yes.
Up here. So tell us a little bit about that.
First off, a little bit about me. I've been in the reverse mortgage industry for about 10 years. I've been with American Advisors Group for 10 years. So This is the one and only lender I've ever worked for. I specialize just in the reverse mortgage product. I don't do any other forward mortgages, traditional, anything else. It's strictly just reverse mortgages.
So a lot of clients don't know what that is. They've heard the term, but can you explain what that is in practicality?
Sure. So a reverse mortgage is a mortgage. So in a lot of ways, it's very similar to any other traditional mortgage. Where it's special is that it's designed for seniors only. You have to be over the age of 62 in order to be eligible for a reverse mortgage. It is a FHA, government insured loan program. And the benefits of it is it allows you to access equity in your home that you can utilize in retirement and never have to make a monthly payment back to until the loan comes to its conclusion, which happens when either you're no longer residing in the home, it's no longer your principal residence, you pass away, and that's pretty much it. And that would cause the loan to become...
So I have a question. So I'm not quite there yet. But if my husband was, and he was to get a reverse mortgage, and he passed away, this is the program where I have to sell my house now.
No.
No. Okay. Okay.
The old reverse mortgage programs, we like to call this the new FHA reverse mortgage programs. The old reverse mortgage programs, if you had a spouse that was underage, for us to do a reverse mortgage for you, we would have to take you off title. Okay. Because you're not 62, you cannot legally be on the loan.
Okay.
So in that instance, under the old program, yes, if your husband passed away, you would then have to satisfy the loan.
Okay, but not now.
Under the new programs, the new FHA reverse mortgages and the way they're designed today, non-borrowing spouses, you're non-borrowing because you can't be on the loan, but because you are married, you have all the same protections as your husband.
Oh, that's wonderful. So I don't have to sell my house. I
Nope.
can stay.
You stay in the home for the rest of your life without ever having to make a mortgage payment.
So what if you're the Hugh Hefner type of guy where he's really old and she's not so old?
As long as they're married, it still works.
I'm glad you defined that. When you said like the Hugh Hefner, I'm like, what do you have a lot of Playboy bunnies running around? What are you talking about? Okay, sorry.
No, that's a great question, and we have had those circumstances and situations. The way the new program is designed is this is an age-based program. How much of the equity you can access is based on the youngest person on title.
Okay.
So if you're married and it's a non-borrowing spouse situation, we're still going to leave your wife on title.
Sure.
Okay.
So that she's on title, she still owns the home, even if something happens to the husband. She won't be on the loan docs, but how much they're eligible for is going to be based on her age, because they're going to base it on her life expectancy.
Oh, okay. And then they have to have so much equity in the property?
Well, yes, it is a loan, and you qualify for a portion of what your home value is.
Okay.
So depending on if you already have a mortgage, depending on where that mortgage is, you want to make sure that you qualify for enough that we can pay off your existing mortgage.
Okay.
That eliminates your mortgage payment, and then anything additionally you qualify for.
So I have to have the house to do this.
And not be a renter, or what are we talking
Well,
about?
I already have to own a home.
Yes, it has to be, so reverse mortgage.
It's like a refinance. I can't do a purchase with this.
No, you can do a purchase.
I can.
So the requirements of a reverse mortgage is you have to be over the age of 62, or married to someone who's over the age of 62 in your case. I understand he's not there yet. I'm sorry, I didn't want to age it.
That's okay.
Age your husband. But it has to be your primary residence.
Okay.
So as long as it's your primary residence, if the home you're buying and you're doing a reverse mortgage purchase, it's called a Home Equity Conversion Mortgage for Purchase Program is the actual name of it.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
You can purchase a home with a reverse mortgage. The benefits of that is you're able to increase your buying power,
Okay.
right? If we were to use an example,
Yeah.
someone's coming to town and they have $250,000 of cash to spend. Well, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, you're not going to find a whole lot in the $250,000 price range.
Right.
But this is a senior and they only have Social Security income and sometimes small pensions and things like that. They're not really, they're not ideal clients to put into a 30-year mortgage, right?
Right.
Because they are seniors, they're coming towards the end.
And they're on a
Fixed income.
Fixed income.
Yeah, it
Right.
makes it very
Last thing
tight.
you want to do is encumber them with
Right.
a mandatory monthly obligation of a mortgage payment.
Okay.
So what can you do?
So with the reverse mortgage purchase, they can bring money as a down payment. A good average, just to play with the numbers, is about 50%.
Okay.
So if you had somebody that had $250,000 and they wanted to buy a house in the Prescott area, they could typically, depending on the numbers and their age, because it's an age-based program,
Right.
interest rates, those are the things that factor into what you qualify for. If they qualified for 50%, then they could put $250 as the down payment, finance the other $250 in the reverse mortgage, and buy a $500,000 home and never have to make a mortgage payment.
Wow.
So now if you have that client that's a cash borrower,
Yes.
a cash buyer, they want to buy that house and pay cash and not have a payment,
Yes.
Right.
you've just doubled their buying power.
That's
If you have that
amazing.
client now and you were trying to find a $250,000 home, almost impossible.
Right.
Now you can look between 250 and 500. It opens up a whole new avenue of inventory.
And what can it be like in a 55 and over community? Something like that?
Yeah, we do a lot of 55 and over communities. We do a lot in planned urban developments,
Okay.
Prescott Lakes and.
What about like
places
mobile homes or is it
Yeah,
site build or
ask
something?
that, yeah.
So we can do manufactured homes.
Okay.
They have to qualify. So right now, or the lending guidelines say they have to be at least a double wide.
Okay.
And it has to be manufactured after 1974. So anything manufactured after 1974 on a permanent foundation,
Okay.
real property, which means they have to own the land and the house.
Okay.
So, and it has to be affixed,
It has to be affixed
right?
to a foundation.
Okay.
And as long as it meets those criteria, we can do reverse mortgages on them. So
What about like homeowners insurance and taxes? Is that because
So-
that's sometimes included in a normal mortgage
Right.
payment?
well, you're paying that in your normal. It's added to your
Right.
normal mortgage payment, right?
Uh-huh.
So with a reverse mortgage, because you still own the home, the
Right.
home is your house.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a mortgage if you're
Right.
looking at it from that perspective. You have the same obligations that you do with any traditional mortgage.
Okay.
You own the house, you have to continue paying your property taxes.
Okay.
There is no impound account because you're not making a monthly payment
You're right.
to add it to, right?
Okay.
Same thing with homeowners insurance. There's a mortgage on the home, you have to have homeowners insurance, both to protect you and the lender.
Okay.
Mostly it's to protect you. If there's a fire or there's damage or hail damage that ruins your roof,
Mm-hmm.
we want to make sure that there's insurance in place that you can have that repaired, preserves the value of the home.
Oh.
And then your third obligation is maintaining the home.
Right.
We get a lot of questions about this one. Oh, it's government insured, they're gonna send inspectors, everybody's gonna put up in the business. That's not the case.
Okay.
The initial inspection is done by the appraiser when he does your home appraisal, right?
Okay.
Just like any other appraiser, he's gonna point out any health and safety issues. If there's health and safety issues, they have to be addressed. If you have peeling paint and things like that, that has to be taken care of before
The
we
normal FHA guidelines.
yes, before we can do the loan.
Sure.
Once the loan is in place, it is your responsibility to maintain the home.
Sure.
If your roof is leaking, fix a leaky roof. If
Right.
a window gets broken,
But
fix
nobody's
it.
actually going to come to your house next year.
And
or the year
verify.
after.
Yeah.
That would, there's way too many loans out there to send
Right.
inspectors to that would not be cost effective.
Yeah.
The only time that we see that happen is if there's something that triggers a red flag.
Okay.
So if the
Such as-
city gives you a citation.
Oh.
So you have 6-foot weeds in your front yard.
Right.
Okay.
Sometimes that citation is also forwarded to any lien holder on the house
Right.
because
Okay.
they have a vested interest in the equity.
Sure.
Something like that could trigger it.
Okay.
So if you do let the maintenance
Defer.
deteriorate or defer, it could cause a problem. But most people take pride in their home. Most people are
Absolutely.
taking care of it anyway.
Sure.
So
And Steve, I have a question. So don't we have something to help our seniors with their taxes, their property taxes?
Absolutely. So, in Yavapai County, we can do the senior freeze.
Okay, what does that mean?
So if you're a senior 65 and over,
Uh-huh.
and you have owned your home, I believe, for 2 years, they can freeze at the current rate.
Really?
If you're disabled or a widower, then they can freeze your taxes, even if you don't live on the property.
Really?
So we've had seniors that move into assisted living and their homes become rental property. They're still not paying property taxes because of the senior freeze.
So they could do that in this program, they could do the
Absolutely.
senior free?
Yes, the reverse mortgage, how the taxes and what taxes are collected is as long as they're paid.
Sure.
Just like any other mortgage, if you don't make your mortgage payment, a notice is going to be sent to your lender.
Right.
Just like it's same with a reverse mortgage.
Okay.
If whatever the tax payment was, if it wasn't being made, then it would be notified and sent to.
So if someone's a
But
senior,
I'm glad that you brought that up because I deal with that every day.
Sure.
My clients are seniors, and I'm
Yeah.
dealing with people that lost their husband, lost their wife,
Mhm.
and they don't know that these programs are out there. And so I'm always educating them and telling them, look, this isn't my expertise.
Right.
Make a phone call a county and say,
Well, and is what we do for our clients every year. We drive around and say, hey, we sold the senior home. We'll stop by and give them the tax freeze, or if we
the flyer information.
the
Wow.
flyer, and then they just fill it out and they can mail it or go down and hand deliver it. But there's filing dates every
Right.
year. There's filing dates that you have to do it, but there's no filing date on the disabled and the
The
widower.
widower.
Well, I know my in-laws were on a fixed income. And
Oh,
they,
absolutely.
And they did it because it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They're a lot of times when we do property research for a client, we'll look at the taxes and like you'll see, here's a community where everyone's taxes is around $3,000 a year or something, and then there's one that's zero. Okay, we know what's going on. They're not friends of the board, the supervisor.
They don't have the end.
They don't have the end. They just filed for the widower's benefits.
That's
So
cool.
They're taking advantage of the programs that are out there. I've heard that Yavapai County, and you might be able to help me with this, but I've heard they actually have assistance too, where they will make the tax payment for you if you qualify.
I
So it's
haven't-
not just freezing, but
I
there's
don't know
also
about that,
tax
yeah.
assistance that's available.
There might be. I haven't heard
Right.
that yet.
Yeah.
But we do use the widower's benefit,
Uh-huh.
the disabled, and the senior freeze. We do that a lot. So,
Those are great benefits.
well, I mean, $3,000 on a fixed income a year, that's a lot of money.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So-
So is this program available for how much? I mean, how much house can I buy? If I want to buy $1 million house?
So there is the FHA program, and the FHA, as anybody's familiar with the FHA, they always have caps. So
Okay.
right now the cap is $822,375 for a reverse mortgage.
375.
822,375.
Wow. Okay.
Trying to remember that
I'm
number.
like, yeah,
Usually I say
375.
822 right around there.
Yes.
No, it's 822,375 is the cap.
Oh.
And then if you have a home that's over that, we also have proprietary programs that
Okay.
are investor backed.
Okay.
Those programs follow the same guidelines. You get you get all the same benefits. It's just not government backed. And up to that, we can do up to a $20 million home. So
Okay.
if you have that $20 million home free and clear, and you're looking to pull 5 or 10,000 or 10 million out of it,
Mhm.
we can definitely help you out with that.
So, real common in this area are septics and well
Oh.
water.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how'd that factor into it?
So yes, it's FHA loan, so we have to follow all the FHA guidelines. We can do wells, we can do septics, we just have to test the water.
Okay.
There's procedures that we have to go through with there. The septic has to meet all the county guidelines with so many feet from the houses and everything like that. We even do cisterns, or
Uh-huh.
if you have to have the water trucked in, like some
Right.
of.
We have some areas like that. Yeah.
Alden, there's some
Yeah.
areas, and down
Jennifer
in
Wood, up
yeah.
in Ashport,
Yes.
So they're having water pumped in or brought in
Mhm.
and pumped into their own tanks. We can still do those. There's more regulations we have to go through. Pretty much if it's common in that area, we can do it.
Okay, and as long as it be
As long
just
as
a
it-
broad
Yes.
FHA guidelines.
And they do have specific things, like if you are on a well in the city and
Mhm.
city water is available, they want you to hook up to the city water,
Oh, wow.
Sure.
Okay.
right?
Well, the city will want you to also.
Right, yes.
Yes, if you're on septic. they
But
can-
that's something that in some more rural areas where they have city water available, and I've had people that flat out tell me, no, I love my well water.
Right?
I'm not gonna do city water. And they have the ability, some of them have a switch, they can switch it on and
Right.
off right there at the house. And so, for those clients, I tell them, hook up to the city for a month or 2 months, do the reverse mortgage.
Yeah.
If you disconnect from the city, no one's gonna know. It's
Right.
more what the FHA is concerned about is resale value,
Right.
right? If something happened and the home did go through a foreclosure process and FHA has to step in and sell the home,
Right.
they want to make sure that the home is going to be sellable.
So, speaking of that, if someone did a reverse mortgage with AAG, with your office, with you specifically, and years later, they just want to sell it, maybe downsize, how does that work?
We do a lot of those.
Oh,
But
okay.
can they do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So a reverse mortgage is a mortgage.
Right.
You can sell the home. You can do repairs to the home. You can do upgrades to the home. The only thing I think that's in there is they don't want you taken away from the value of the home.
Sure.
So you can't turn it into a business.
Okay.
This is for primary residence. It's residents only. We do have there are some situations where we can do businesses when the home is part business, part.
Yeah, a lot of people working
yeah.
from home
Yeah.
now.
Well,
Yeah, that's true.
the working
That's
from
very
home
true, yeah.
doesn't really factor
No, no,
in, but
Right.
we've had some people that live in a commercially zoned area and they run
A garage down
a garage
below,
down
their house
below and their
above.
house is above, right?
Right.
As long as the square footage of the house and the square footage of the business is not more than, I think it's 50%. I'd have to double check the guidelines. I double check them when a client comes to me with those specific situations.
Sure.
But yes, we can still do ones that are business as long as it's also the residence and the residence is larger square footage than the business.
So,
Just so I did a lot before I moved to this area. I was licensed in Pennsylvania, Maryland. So I did a lot of like bodegas, houses, apartments, and stuff.
Oh.
The bodegas down
Yeah,
below,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
those type of situations.
so
I've done them with a clothing store
uh-huh.
on the ground floor, and then they had 2 stories of living area above.
Wow.
So we can do them in those circumstances, but it has to be primarily residence.
You talk about bringing your work home.
I have a question. So does it take longer to do like that on a closing than a regular, like, conventional loan? I mean, does it take more days to do that?
To do those tricky ones, yes,
Well,
of
that's it.
course, but
Just 3 hours?
so in a standard mortgage, if someone came to me today and said, Troy, we want to buy a house, we want to use the reverse mortgage purchase
Yes.
program, right? Specifics to this type of situation. I'm always going to ask to try and get a 45-day close.
Okay.
Sure.
45-day close, I have probably a 90% hit rate to hit
Wow.
the close of escrow.
Okay.
And when I can't hit the close of escrow, we're talking like a 1 or 2 day push.
Mhm.
I've never not hit escrow on any of my own personal
I was
deals.
just say, don't hit me.
But we've also made changes within our own company because reverse mortgage for purchases are becoming more and more popular.
Yes.
A lot
Right.
more people
Yes.
are starting to look at them and utilize them. And when you're talking about processing a loan, that becomes a problem because when you're doing a traditional refinance,
Right.
if it takes 30 days or 60 days, it's usually it doesn't impact anybody else
Right.
except for your client,
Right.
right? Who
Yeah,
is
the
wanting the
borrower.
money for whatever reason.
Right.
But when you're talking about a reverse mortgage for purchase, now you have the seller involved, you have the agent for the seller, you have the buyer involved, you have the agent for the buyer, you have the agent for the other house that the seller is going to buy, and you have the agent for the house that's being sold if it's contingent.
Right.
So now you have all these other people that are under contract and have contractual obligations that they have to meet.
Sure.
And when they can't meet them because we can't get the financing done, that becomes a problem.
Oh,
So
yeah.
our company has recognized that. They've instituted a brand new processing
Okay.
team that is just specializing with the purchases. And our goal here is within the next 30 to 60 days to be able to consistently hit 30-day closes.
Really?
Wow.
So that's where we're going. We're not there yet. So I'm always going to ask for 45.
Sure.
But along those same lines too, I've also done a 2-week close.
Wow.
So it just depends on the circumstances, whether we can get it done that quick or not. On the 2-week close, most of the pre-work was already done. We just had to get the appraisal and get it through and get it approved, but everything else was already taken care of up front. So there are circumstances where we can do a really fast close, but you know, there's always the.
So mechanically, systematically, I have a buyer coming into town, might be ideal for a reverse mortgage. Send them over to you, you have a conversation with them. At what point can I get a pre-qualification? Because that's required now when we submit
Yeah.
a purchase offer.
Right. So I can usually do pre-quals within 12 hours, 24 hours at the most for me to
Okay.
get a pre-qual done.
How painful is that for the buyer?
Here's the good news. Reverse mortgages are easier to qualify for than a traditional mortgage.
Really?
Oh, okay.
So it's much easier.
Because the long application
Yes.
is long.
Yeah, the application is 250.
Yeah.
But for doing the pre-qual, you know, we
Uh-huh.
can, that is, it's much easier to qualify. For me specifically, the first thing I do when someone tells me they have a client that might be interested, my first recommendation, let's have a meeting together.
Sure.
I think it's important to have the agent involved so
Right.
that all parties have an understanding of the financial tool and how it's going to work.
Mhm.
But it also makes sure that me as a lender, the borrower, who's the client of the agent,
Right.
that we're all three on the same page going towards the goals that the client wants, right? And so I always like to have the agent there. Sometimes they're available. Right now it's hard because you guys are so busy.
We are busy.
So it's hard to commit that time, and I understand that. But the other reason I like to do that too is because there's got to be a trust factor, right?
Absolutely.
If you're going to work with me and you're going to rely on me to get this done for you
Right.
and your client,
Mhm.
I want you to be able to trust me. And so I think it's important that you're in the loop.
One of the things we talk about with clients is our team. Like Kirsten's on my team. So I'm going to say, look, you know, we have a title company. We work well with them. If there's any problem, here's the number you can call
Yes.
and
She will
get things
answer
done.
the phone, yes.
And then you can be on the team too when it comes to reverse mortgages.
I'd like to be on your team. Steve.
There you go.
Well, I think it's great that you do this in
But-
front of the agent, because what I notice even in title and escrow is that we still have agents who don't comprehend the full process.
Oh, and it's only getting
Right.
worse too,
Yeah.
because
Really?
the reverse mortgage is
You okay there?
well, yeah. My phone rang and I feel bad, so let me.
Well, let's go back. We'll reset that. This will be a good time to insert a little commercial.
Yes.
A segue. All right. And so why don't you start to say, welcome back. And we need to further educate.
Can we do that
realtors.
commercial with Tom Selleck and the agent?
Yeah, we can.
I knew I should have brought
I
it.
know.
If they wouldn't sue me, I probably would. So,
Welcome back to the Gallery of Homes, and we're still here with Troy and Steve.
right.
And we were just asking you, I totally forgot.
Well, this is about realtors knowing
Yes.
the product that they offer.
Understanding
Yeah.
the product, yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard sometimes.
So years ago, when I went through a real estate class, we didn't have to learn anything about loans, nothing about the mortgage, nothing about how to qualify, what the products are. Now there is a requirement,
Good.
but only since January.
Oh, wow.
So some of your older agents may not be aware, some of your newer agents may have an idea, but what do the agents really need to know?
For the agents, they need to know the concept and understand what it does for their client and the basics of how it works. Obviously, for qualifying, for how much they qualify for, those are all things that you would actually want to come to me for.
Okay.
And I'm actually doing education classes for real estate agents. I'm going to be putting
Oh,
them
good.
together. I'm going to try to do one a quarter and
Okay.
invite anybody who wants to come. And it's just to get the information of how a reverse mortgage for purchase works and how that does. And then on the other end with title,
Yes.
this is becoming even a more complicated issue because lending for traditional mortgages now has shifted over to new policies and procedures since 2008.
Right.
Reverse mortgages haven't made that change.
Oh, that's
So-
good to know.
Reverse mortgages are one of the only mortgages that I know of that still use a HUD-1.
Oh, good.
And the problem now is that,
I still call it the HUD one.
yeah, the problem now though is that they have all these new escrow officers that have never worked with a HUD-1.
That's right.
Not only that, we have title companies that we're dealing with now that no longer have the HUD-1 capability in their systems.
That's
They
right.
got rid of them.
They got rid of them because they're not using them. And so when they're going to do a reverse mortgage transaction, all of a sudden they have to bring that out.
And they're like, what is this?
Yeah, and they
How
have
do I do this? Yes.
So one of the good
Yes.
benefits is if you have somebody that's experienced in reverse mortgages and they go to the title company that they know by name
Right.
and say,
Thank you.
I need someone who understands HUD-1. Do you have somebody like that? And Kirsten would say, yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
I do.
I have a HUD-1 specialist that we're going to give this loan to. We'll make sure it lands on her desk.
And
And then that makes the transaction go a lot smoother.
and less painful.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I went to a signing with a different escrow company a couple of weeks ago, and the lady doing the signing, the escrow officer, did not understand everything that the client was signing. Good thing I was there, and the client asked me to be there specifically because they never bought a home before.
Oh my gosh, first
And-
time buyers.
First time home buyers.
Oh,
And
wow.
so like, yes, that's what that is, this is what that is, and, because there's a lot of duplications, in
There
the
is,
signing.
and there's a lot of fear when you're a first time home buyer.
Absolutely, a lot of
And
fear.
that's, and you don't know us from Adam, so thank you
But
for
now,
calling.
on a different experience, I went to Diane Coons, in your office,
Yes,
on a signing,
Yes.
when they were letting realtors attend signings, so sometimes they don't now.
What?
Yeah.
COVID,
And-
sorry, we're starting to, yes.
And Diane knew everything. It was the experience for the client was totally different.
Yes,
And in real estate, I try to make our clients' experience very fun, joyful, fun. It's a big investment, but doggone it, let's go out and get the house you want and for the price you can afford.
It's a good feeling.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask you a question. Steve, how long have you been selling real estate?
25 years.
And you've been doing this for 10 years.
Reverse mortgages for 10 years. And that's
Okay.
my only experience in the
Yeah.
mortgage industry. I've
Yeah.
never done forward.
Okay,
So
I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and all I can tell you is that the seasoned people really do know all the hiccups that are gonna hit.
Oh my gosh,
And I
I
appreciate that because it
Yeah.
makes the transaction so much smoother.
yeah.
And one of the things that you're hitting on, Steve, I go to every single one of my signings.
Oh, good for
Good
you.
for
There's
you.
a ton of loan officers that don't.
No.
But I go for two reasons. Number one, it's a reverse mortgage, and
Right.
there's different documents and different paperwork.
Right.
And most notaries, if they haven't done a reverse mortgage, aren't going to know how to explain those documents, and they're not supposed to.
Right.
The reality is they're supposed to go there, verify the person, and do the signatures.
Right.
It's not their job to explain the documents.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I attend every one. I
Right.
attend every single one of them so that I'm there. If there's any questions, any concerns, we can stop the signing, we can get them answered. I can, let them know what's going on and where it's at and why this is that way. And I found that that's very helpful. And it's very reassuring to the client.
Yeah,
Because
extremely.
for the signings that I'm doing, you're doing purchases. Everybody's
Right.
excited, it's a brand new home, but I'm doing a lot of refinances where there's
Right.
a lot of fear.
Sure.
There's, I'm free and clear on this house and now I'm gonna put a mortgage on it.
Mhm.
It's the other end of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's very reassuring to have somebody there that can make sure that they understand and know exactly what's happening and how and why it's happening.
Well, and if you go through the process, that client's going to trust you as being the expert,
Yeah.
and you live up to that. So that's really good.
I appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
do, absolutely. So, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, my local phone number here is a 928 number. It's 928-227-1097.
Okay.
That's my office phone. I give that out a lot, but I find a lot of people text me, and it's not a cell phone.
Oh,
That's
good
my
to
office
know.
phone.
Good to know.
So that's my hardline office number at my home office.
And we used to call that a landline.
Yeah, but actually, technically, it's not because it's hooked up to the internet.
Right,
True,
right. That's what I'm
true.
talking about.
True.
But that's my landline. You can always call American Advisors Group on the 800 number
Okay.
and ask for Troy Simington. Make sure you ask for me, or they're just going to transfer you to one of the retail call sales.
Right.
So AAG has retail call centers, which they are licensed in multiple states. They're located in one area in one office, and they deal with all these different states. I'm a specialist. I'm a national field sales rep, and I deal with local. So
Right.
I'm
And you
the one out there.
know the area.
Yeah, I'm the one out here. So when a call comes into our national call center,
Mhm.
if it's from the Prescott Valley area, they always try to give it to me first because
Right.
I'm the expert
the
in the
area.
area.
Right.
If I'm unavailable, then they'll give it to one of the retail call centers. But if you ask for me specifically by name, they will transfer it to me.
Okay, so Tom Selleck is your spokesperson.
Yes.
So if I call and ask for Tom Selleck, will they give me Tom Selleck?
Yes,
Just asking for a friend.
No, I don't think you'll actually get to talk to Tom Selleck.
Okay, just wondering.
But yes, I've actually am in negotiations with management to get me a billboard here in Prescott with me and Tom.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we're trying to work it out. I just want a big billboard with me standing next to Tom on and on, and him with a little saying says, "Hey, if you want to know how reverse mortgages work, call my good friend Troy."
That would be fun.
With my number, but we're still in negotiations. I don't know if it's going to happen.
So, but on the refi, you go to them, probably to their house. Do I
Yes.
understand that correctly? Okay. And on the purchase, you start out with talking to the agent. The agent gives you the client's contact. You guys get together and have a meeting, and then go forward.
Typically, we'll do that at the agent's office, or
Okay.
we'll do that at a coffee shop before they're going to do home tours.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'll meet wherever they want to meet. I specialize in this area, but because they do get we get 50,000 phone calls coming into our call center every month.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
So with Tom Selleck advertising, TV, internet, and
Right.
all the advertising that AAG does, we're getting a ton of phone calls. So they do have me in other areas where I do receive calls, like I'm going to Fountain Hills.
Sure.
I have clients in Scottsdale, Tempe, Mesa. I do all of northern Arizona. I've gone to Show Low, Pine Top. I just had a loan that closed in Show Low this week. Pine Top, Strawberry, Flagstaff, wherever.
So,
I have another one coming up in Parker, which I didn't know. Not Parker, Park. Park, which is part of Williamson, and I didn't know that. He was saying I live in Park, and I can't find Park on a map. And it's a little tiny community right outside of Williamson, between Williamson and Flagstaff. So
Okay.
I'm for 3 years living here. I'm learning all the areas.
yeah. Well, I drive around town and find out there's a new development being put up everywhere. So it's exciting, really. But let me recap real quick.
Okay.
Reverse mortgage is nothing more than an FHA home loan, period.
With special features.
With
Okay.
special features in the fact that you don't make a mortgage payment.
That's a nice feature.
That's a nice feature. I like that feature
Yeah.
a lot. Really, they're going to go with the youngest person on title to figure out how much equity you can get or how much loan you can get on the reverse mortgage. No monthly payments. You can sell your house at any time, really.
Yeah,
And
it's your house.
just like any other mortgage.
And you leave the house to your heirs. That's a misconception.
Oh, that's nice.
A lot of people think
Oh.
that when the reverse mortgage is over or when you pass away, the bank gets your house. That's not the case. This is just a mortgage.
Right. So whatever's in your estate or
Whatever,
will or
yeah.
trust or whatever.
When you pass away, the house is left to whoever you're leaving it to. When they inherit the house, this is some of the other special features.
Yeah.
When they inherit the house, they get 6 months to decide if they want to keep it or sell it.
I did not know that.
Without making a payment.
Wow.
So 6 months without having to make a payment, have nobody calling you for
Oh,
collections or
that's
anything else
nice.
to decide whether you want to keep the house or sell it. If you want to keep the house, you refinance it or pay off whatever's owed to the reverse mortgage.
Okay.
The house is yours.
Wow.
If you want to sell the house, you can get up to 6 months to sell the house.
Okay.
If it doesn't sell within 6 months, you can apply for 2 3-month extensions.
Okay.
So if in a bad market and certain circumstances where homes
Yeah.
aren't moving, right now that wouldn't be an issue, but
Right.
that could happen. You know, real estate goes up and down. They could get virtually up to a year to sell the home. When the home sells, that's going to pay back whatever's owed to the reverse mortgage.
Right.
Sure.
And then the rest of the profits from the sale are going to go straight to your heirs.
That's so nice
Wow.
because
So,
you have to
yeah.
deal with all their stuff, and it's just overwhelming.
To try and do in a short period of time.
Yes, and
And then
having
have a
call.
lender calling and saying, hey,
Yes.
you need to pay this.
And you're
Right.
like, I'm barely just,
We need
burying
to
my
take care of
folks.
this. Yeah.
Why are you doing
So,
this?
yeah,
Yes.
no, it's,
Well, and a lot of folks that like move into assisted care, like Alta Vista or Boulder Gardens here
Yeah.
in town, or Las Fuentes. There's many of them, as you can imagine. That would give the family time to maybe do an estate sale, or maybe go through the house and prepare it.
or
Yes.
maybe you don't
Yes.
know. So, like
Right.
with the situation with my mother-in-law,
Uh huh.
you know, she ended up appendix bursting, having issues,
Oh, no.
going into the hospital.
Oh.
This was like 4 months after she broke her hip and had
Oh.
hip surgery. She ends up in a hospital. She's there. She goes from there into rehab centers, in the rehab center for 30 days.
Right.
She goes from the rehab center to a group home. This was when I was still living in California.
Okay.
And so she was here all by herself, and there was no way for her to care for us, or for
Right.
us to care for her. So she went into a group home for
Right.
4 or 5 months
Sure.
to try and heal.
Right.
She actually had something happen, relapse, went back into the hospital, had
Oh my
another
goodness.
surgery. Then she went back into rehab,
Mm.
and all this is going on. You know, there's no worry about a mortgage payment on the house.
Oh, that's a good
There
point.
was nobody stressing about anything.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about what we were doing with the house while all this was going on.
Right.
We weren't
Yeah.
sure whether she would ever be able to move back home.
Yeah.
Now, she did get better. She went from that to the rehab center, and then from the rehab center she went to assisted living.
Right.
That she did that for 4 months just to get all of her strength back.
Right.
And then during that time is when we moved here to Arizona. And then her thing then was, I want out of this, I want my own place again.
Right.
But she wanted to live up here close to us. So we sold her house down there. She bought a duplex up here. We moved her in. Everybody's happy.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, that's when you're dealing with stuff like that, that they're ill, there's things going on, there's medical issues.
No.
We're not even sure they're
You
going to come
start
back to
worrying
the
about
house.
the bills, and
Right.
you start worrying
You start
about,
worrying about what you're going to
Yes.
have to do, and do we have to stay on
Yes.
top of these?
Yeah.
Well, you know,
in
I
that situation, there's no mortgage payment. It's everything's
it's
super
recession
fine.
proof. Really.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
depending on how you have it structured, on a purchase, you're going to use all the money to purchase the
Right.
home.
Mhm.
But on a reverse mortgage refinance, if you had it in a line of credit,
Mhm.
that money then is accessible to help pay for these things.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah, that's a good point.
one of the things that I didn't realize is when you go into assisted living, insurance doesn't pay.
Oh.
There's no Medicare that pays for assisted living.
Right.
Unless you have long-term care insurance, that's all
Right.
out of pocket.
Right.
Oh.
And that's not cheap.
Right.
No.
It was very expensive. So,
Oh.
having access to equity in the home to be able to utilize to pay for some of that was a huge benefit.
It was a good blessing for her.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, I've done reverse mortgages for my parents.
Uh-huh.
That's how much I believe in it. This is a program that helps my mom and dad retire better.
Right.
And they did things because they had a reverse mortgage that they would have never been able to do.
And that's a
Oh.
nice thing.
And yeah, and I'm so glad they did it. My mom passed away a couple years ago.
Right.
But having that in place allowed them to do things. They went on trips in their RV that they were gone for 4 months.
They
Yeah.
enjoyed their retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
And they weren't
and their time
stressed.
together.
Yeah,
Right,
it wasn't stressed on the
absolutely.
So-
confinements.
And he would have never been able to do that. They would have never been able to do that without the reverse mortgage in place. So for
So.
me, it's a blessing. Sorry, you were
No,
wrapping this
well,
up. I
no,
keep
we
going.
were wrapping up, but it's so interesting to hear. I literally got a call from a past client. Her husband had been in the ICU with COVID
Oh,
on
no.
a ventilator, and then he went into a coma, and that started right before Thanksgiving. I ran into him over the weekend, and they're worried about losing their home.
Oh no.
And
Let me help.
I know that actually I'm going to give you their.
This is
Actually, I'm going to go
So-
to their house tonight and drop off your card.
Oh my
I-
gosh.
the reason I love my job. I love what I do. I've been doing this for 10 years. The reason I love what I do is because I get to help people.
Right.
All kinds of people. One of my favorite phone calls I ever received was from a past client.
Uh-huh.
I did the reverse mortgage for him because he was fighting cancer.
Oh.
And they were dealing with that. And their home had deferred maintenance. It had issues. They needed an air conditioning unit. They needed a new roof and things like that. And he was terrified because he was no longer physically able to do those things.
No.
And he wanted to get those things done before, in case something happened to
And
him.
he's fighting
Sure.
the cancer.
And he's fighting the cancer.
And he's
Oh.
pretty-
And
Wow.
they have been dealing with this battle. This was his third time. So it had been cancer remission. Now the cancer's back, and he was fairly certain he wasn't going to make it.
Right.
So I did the reverse mortgage for him. They put a new air conditioning in. They put a new roof on the
Oh.
house. They took care of all the maintenance, got everything situated and squared away. And then the wife calls me about 2 years later, and she says, "Troy, I just want to let you know Bear passed away."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, go through that whole thing." But she said, "I just wanted to call and thank you because the
Yes.
last 2 years he was able to deal with the cancer
Right.
and everything that was coming with
Right.
that without having to worry about the house."
Well, you
Right.
did. that
So-
allowed him to make his wife feel safe, and he felt like he protected her. That's
taking care of his
wonderful.
wife. Exactly. And
That's
I have
lovely.
100 stories like that
Yeah.
of things that I've been able to do, and because everybody's story is a little bit different. Everybody's
Right.
looking
Yeah.
at this, you know, the people that you were just speaking
Right.
of.
Yeah.
Everybody's circumstances are different. I have a client right now I'm dealing with. I could tell these stories all
I was
day.
just saying, we have to finish to end this.
But I
Yes.
have a client right now that they looked at the reverse mortgage about a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
And at the time, they were like, no, we're okay. This is, you know, thanks for the information. Everything's great. But right now, we're okay financially.
Good.
Well, I'm getting a phone call again because he passed away from COVID unexpected.
Oh, no.
So now they have to get rid of their mortgage payment or she has
Right.
to sell the home.
Oh.
Right.
So it's
She
coming
lost
back.
her income.
Right.
That's so
Lost his
scary.
income.
Right.
They can no longer afford that mortgage payment.
Right.
So now something has to be done. It's either sell the house, be forced into moving someplace that you're not comfortable, away from family, away from
Mhm.
friends, away from church, and buying something a lot smaller
Mhm.
because their house has a still substantial mortgage on it,
Right.
or do the reverse mortgage and eliminate that mortgage.
Absolutely.
And she can stay in that house. And even if it's only for 2 or 3 years, at least that's 2 or 3 years
She can decide
to get comfortable
Yeah.
with,
everything,
Everything.
that's happened.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Because
exactly.
that's so much
And
change
adjusting
so quick.
without having
Yeah.
to make such major changes.
No,
So
or major decisions.
yeah, so
No.
I mean that's why I love my job. That's why I do what I do.
It
I
shows,
get-
you know, it
I-
really shows.
and that's what it's. I get to serve. I get to take care of people
That's
Good
what
for
we
you.
like.
and go out of it. So,
Yeah.
Hey, well, thanks for being on this episode. We will certainly share it with everyone we know. Thanks, Kristen,
Yes.
for coming on.
My pleasure.
Always enjoy having you on the big show. So, and thanks for tuning into this episode. Thank you.